Hello and welcome to my Sprint 4 Progress demo. This sprint I've focused on solving a problem with our question notification system. The problem is that until now, question data is stored directly in the notifications themselves, and this leads to a couple of undesirable behaviors. First, if a notification is dismissed before the question is viewed, then the question data is permanently lost and the question can no longer be viewed on the student's device. Another problem here is that the only way to access a question, of course, is through clicking the notification, and this is also undesirable. The solution, though, is now to store the question data directly in the service. In order to solve the problem of being able to interact with a running service, we use service-to-fragment binding, in which a fragment can be bound to a service without having to be concerned with the service's life cycle. That is, if a service is already running, which will often be the case when the view question fragment is launched, then it can just bind to that instance without having to worry about, starting the service, because the service will already be started, but it can start it if it needs to. Once the binding takes place, the service then has access to a getter method for the question data that's stored in the service. The way that the binding works is you first start off by calling a bind to service method that initiates the steps to tell the Android system that we want to bind to a service. After that, the service actually has a callback for onBind that will return an instance of a local binder class that it has as a member variable. This local binder has a getService method, which the Android system will then give the student response fragment access to the service through this method. The service connection monitors when a service connection has been completed and then gives the student response fragment access to that getService method that it can then use to store an instance of the currently running student question service as a member variable, giving it access to the getQuestion method here. So now I'll demonstrate this functionality. First, I'll receive in a question from the teacher side. You see the notification came in, but I'm not going to click on it to go to the question itself. I'm just going to go to the in-class response section, and the question is also here. I'll select my response and I'll press send, and you'll see the notification disappears from the top. Now I'll receive another question in, and I'll dismiss that notification entirely. And we'll go back into the in-class response section, and the question is there, and I'm able to send it back.